Now we are going to be going into the first knockdown session. Now, if you're going to notice here, I'm starting with a sharper tip nylon knockdown. Reason being, I do not want to sink these dents, or I'm sorry, I don't want to sink these pull spots, these high spots, into any type of major lows at this point. Because I got nice little tight pull spots, I'm going to use a little bit of a sharper knockdown to kind of isolate my taps in that one specific spot. However, we're going to switch to a soft tip, but that is going to be on the crown work. So again, knocking down with the sharper tip here, and we're actually working the impact point. And this is usually the most vulnerable time when you're doing a large glue pull like this. But we definitely want to do our knockdown work in a way that's going to complement our future pulls. Always thinking ahead about that. You're thinking, how can I knock this dent down, or if you will, dish it out in a way to where when I make my next pull, I'm going to be able to pull it high at that point and move it along. Again, always thinking ahead. Now we're kind of working that top of the crown there. You're actually seeing me work the tension pull that I pulled right there at the top of that crown. Now, as we stand, it still looks a little wild. However, don't get discouraged. We're just turning all these high spots into little shallows so we can take our glue pulls. Now, at this point, I can start working this back edge of the crown again. But if you notice here, I'm not using a sharp tip. I'm using a soft tip. I want to try to keep away from chopping up that crown the most possible. Usually, when you work a crown like this, it's always going to get a little bit choppy on you. However, using this soft tip is going to minimize that to the point, especially when we are dialing in the actual line of the crown. So, I mean, you can still visibly see that line right there on the edge of the crown, and I want to move that down nice and smooth, not leaving a bunch of, tap down marks. We'll try to avoid that the best that we can. So anyhow, now we got another back edge of the crown here, and this is one that kind of emerged as we began to pull out the damage. So the whole back edge of this crown, you kind of notice it much, much more once you get the tension out. In fact, you're even going to be to the point to where whenever you do these pulls, new crowns will emerge that was not even there to begin with. Just the way it is when the metal flows there. So again, now I'm kind of working that upper back edge of that crown. And you see how the lows that are appearing there, instead of having a lot of depth to them, they've really shallowed themselves up to the point to where it just looks like nice, easier dents to glue pull. So here we are, kind of getting that nice elongated view there. Now I'm gonna stay in this view for a little while throughout the repair. However, here eventually we're going to be moving our light different angles, different directions, never exempt from cross-checking. However, I want to get it very, very good from this specific angle. And you can see there, it just pulled up nice. I mean, that's what you want. You want to pull these dents up to nice little high spots there. That right there is easy to manage at this point. Here we go, going into the next shot. You can kind of get an idea there. I'm probably filling that tab up 50% with glue. And I'm a big fan of these. I think this is a quarter size tab here. This is an Atlas tab that I'm using. This is the same tab that I've used from start to finish on this repair. Slide hammer I'm using is a Tomco. It's a little bit lighter than most slide hammers, but I do like them for this situation. So you can see here, I'm just kind of rinsing and repeating what we started with. I've got some nice little lows that I'm just going to run through, and I'm going to pull them into high spots. And once we get all these little lows through here into high spots, we're going to go back into our knockdown session. We'll go ahead and looks like we're going to be going after that bottom little low down there. Go ahead and drop it right into place. And one thing that you'll notice, I've got a student in with me right now, and one of the things that we encountered with him, why he was placing his glue tabs, because he was always putting them off center slightly. And one of the things that you want to watch for is when you go to lay it down, you want to make sure, watch that glue, watch the connection angle of the glue at the bottom of the tab touching the center of the dent when you place your tab. Be nice and steady with it. Okay, so now you can see I'm actually going in with a soft tip at this point. At this point, we feel that the dent is very, very nice and stable. We're not going to risk it falling back into a large dent at this point. So we can actually break this out of our arsenal. Maybe instead of 10 taps on one little high spot, we need only five taps. So that's kind of the idea of the soft tip. It's just going to move more metal, kind of speed up the repair. All right, so now going in and doing a little bit of blending work. And when I say that I'm doing blending work inside of this dent, is essentially you're trying to match the pattern of the dent with its surrounding perimeter. And I say this quite a bit, but I mean, you're blending throughout the entire repair. I mean, I don't feel that blending is just a finishing technique. Sometimes you gotta blend and kind of dish a dent out and blend it into a smooth circumference. So when you go to take your glue pull, or when you go in there to push it, it's gonna complement the finished product of that damage. Essentially, you're just making the interior of the dent much smoother. So when you finish it, you're going to have a much smoother and cleaner result. So here we go. Got a couple little lows back there. Again, just isolating them, doing the twist, making sure the tabs are adhering properly. And on this specific day, I mean, this was perfect temperature for glue pulling. It was 70 degrees out, nice breeze coming in. If you notice, I mean, the tabs are just curing rapidly. This is all real time, so I'm dropping them on there, and they're curing, and I'm taking my pull. Really working out nice in this type of weather. So there we go, kind of going towards that back edge, taking another pull there. I like to call this the glue pulling version of picking it clean. So we're looking for little dents. A lot of times a big dent like this is going to break up into a bunch of little smaller dents. The idea, however, is to make it to where the smaller dents are easy to glue pull. Sometimes it's overwhelming to look at a large dent and just see a kind of a big wobbly mess. However, you just got to stay focused, take your time, isolate areas, make your pulls, and little by little, you're going to see it shaping up. I like to say, I mean, how do you eat a dinosaur? One bite at a time. And that's how you glue pull a large dent. I mean, it's one bite at a time. You break it up into sections and just tackle one little spot at a time, create stability, and take that dent and change it into something that's easy to repair. And I always say that. Some folks kind of look at it different. They kind of look at it like when they start a dent, how can I fix this thing? Don't always look at it that way. Look at it when you start a dent. How can you change this dent into some damage that is easy to repair? So kind of, start looking at the big dents like that when you start them off. How can I make this dent a dent that is easier for me to repair? And then when you get it to that level, easily repair it.